My family said I ruined their lives. I just left quietly. I was never the favorite. That was my sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong no matter how cruel she was. No matter how much she got away with, my mom adored her. And me? I was just there. An afterthought. A shadow in my own home. It had always been this way. Growing up, I learned quickly that my opinions didn't matter. My dreams weren't important, and my feelings, either ignored or ridiculed. When my sister failed a test, it was my fault for distracting her. When she lost a friend, I was probably the reason. When she broke something, I must have pushed her into it. And my mom, she believed her every single time. I tried to be the perfect daughter. I worked hard, got good grades, and kept quiet when they insulted me. I never lashed out, never fought back. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I proved my worth, they'd finally love me like they loved her. But nothing changed. And then it all came crashing down the night they told me I had ruined their lives. It started with an argument. Well, they were arguing. I was just standing there letting them yell. My sister had flunked a class, and instead of taking responsibility, she blamed me. Again, I don't even know how. Maybe I stressed her out just by existing. "You've ruined our lives," she screamed. I barely had time to react before my mom echoed, "We'd be happier without you." That was it. The moment that broke me. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't beg them to take it back. I just nodded. Then I turned around, walked to my room, grabbed a backpack, and packed whatever I could fit. They didn't stop me. They didn't even watch me leave. And just like that, I was gone. I stepped out into the night, the weight of my backpack pressing against my shoulders, but nothing compared to the heaviness in my chest. I walked without a destination, just putting distance between me and the house I had never truly called home. It was cold. I remember that vividly. The air bit at my skin, but I didn't shiver. I was numb. I had always thought that leaving would feel dramatic, like in the movies. Maybe with tears streaming down my face or a last lingering look at the home I was abandoning. But there was none of that. No one ran after me. No one called my name. No one cared. I didn't know where to go. I had no plan, no safety net. My savings were laughable, just a couple $100 I had secretly stashed away from small tutoring gigs. But I knew one thing for sure. I would never go back. I found a cheap motel for the night, paying for a single room with shaky hands. I stared at the bed, but couldn't bring myself to lie down. Instead, I sat at the small desk, the dim yellow light flickering above me, and tried to figure out what to do next. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have connections. I barely had money. But I had one advantage. I had spent my entire life being ignored, underestimated. No one had ever handed me anything. If I was going to make it, I'd have to build something from nothing. I started with what I knew, studying. It sounded ridiculous at the time, but I was good at it. I had spent years excelling in school, tutoring other kids, helping people understand complex subjects. Maybe, just maybe, I could turn that into something. The next day, I walked into a small cafe, ordered the cheapest coffee on the menu, and used their free Wi-Fi to apply for every online tutoring gig I could find. I set my rates low, just enough to get people to notice me. At first, it was barely enough to survive. I lived off instant noodles and dollar store groceries. I rented a room in a shared apartment with 3 strangers who barely acknowledged my existence. But it was still better than where I had come from. Because every day, I woke up knowing that no one would scream at me. No one would blame me for their failures. No one would tell me I was ruining their lives. And that was enough. Months passed. My tutoring gigs grew. 1 client turned into 3. 3 turned into 10. Soon, I was making enough to move into a tiny studio apartment, barely more than a box, but it was mine. And yet, through all of it, my family never called. Not once. Not on my birthday. Not on holidays. Not even to check if I was alive. It hurt in the way old wounds do, deep, silent, lingering. But I told myself it was fine. If they didn't care, then neither did I. A year into my new life, things changed. I had built up a reputation as a tutor specializing in college entrance exams. Students from all over the country were reaching out to me, desperate for help, but I was still trading time for money, and I knew that wasn't sustainable. That's when I got an idea. What if I turned my lessons into something bigger, something scalable? I spent months studying digital marketing, watching hours of free YouTube content, reading every article I could find. Then, I started creating my own online course, the Ultimate SAT Prep Guide. It was a risk. I poured every spare dollar I had into designing the course, building a website, running ads. At first, sales trickled in. One here, two there. Then something shifted. Word of mouth spread. Students started raving about my methods, sharing them online. And then, almost overnight, it exploded. I woke up one morning to see that my sales had tripled, then quadrupled. Within a few months, I was making more than I had ever thought possible. I moved into a sleek, high-rise apartment, the kind I used to dream about. I traveled, met people who actually respected me, built friendships that weren't based on obligation or blood. I had done it. I had built myself from nothing. And my family? They were nowhere to be found. Not a single message, not a single call. They didn't care about me. Until this morning. My phone buzzed. I barely glanced at it until I saw the notifications. Mom, 6 missed calls. Sister, 8 missed calls. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. After all this time, after they had made it so clear they never wanted me. I let out a slow breath. I had changed. I wasn't the weak, desperate girl they had pushed out of their lives. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. Whatever they wanted, it wasn't going to be an apology, and I had no intention of making it easy for them. I sat there, staring at the screen for what felt like hours, though in reality, it was only a few minutes. My mind raced. What could they possibly want after all this time? Mom had never once apologized for how she treated me, never admitted how she constantly chose my sister over me. And my sister? She hadn't even cared to notice I was gone. Until now. Now, after everything, they suddenly wanted me. I finally decided to pick up. It was almost surreal, hearing her voice after so long. "Hello," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Sweetie, please, we need to talk." Sweetie. After everything, she had the audacity to call me that? She hadn't used that word in years. The fake tenderness stung. "What's going on?" I asked, not bothering to hide my disbelief. There was a long pause. We've fallen on hard times," Mom finally said, her voice cracking. "Your sister. She's been having trouble at school again. And with everything going on, we just don't have enough. We need your help." I bit my lip, a strange mix of satisfaction and rage bubbling up inside me. This was why they were calling. Not because they missed me, not because they regretted anything, because they needed something. "What kind of help?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. "Money." She blurted it out so fast I almost laughed. "Your sister's tuition, it's due, and we have bills we can't pay. I know we were never there for you, but please, we're struggling. We need you to help us. We know it's a lot to ask, but please, we've tried everything." I could hear her sniffle. Maybe it was real. Maybe it was just guilt trying to worm its way back in. "Please," she repeated, voice trembling. "We need you back. We need your support." The words hung in the air. My support. The same support they threw away years ago. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to control the rush of emotions threatening to choke me. How could they think this was okay? For the first time in a long time, I felt something other than indifference. It was laughable. "You're serious?" I asked, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "You really think I'll come back and help you, after everything?" There was silence. Then Mom's desperate voice. "Please don't do this. We know we messed up, but we're your family. You can't just leave us like this." Something snapped in me. "You never cared about me when I needed you." My voice was shaking now, but not with weakness. With anger. "You were too busy with your golden child. You let me disappear. You told me you'd be better off without me." I paused, the rage burning in my chest, but I kept it in check. I wasn't going to let them twist this back on me. "I don't owe you anything." Silence. Then, my sister's voice came through next, frantic, panicked. "I know I was horrible to you, but I need your help. I messed up, okay? I didn't mean it. I've been trying to fix things, but I don't know what to do anymore." I almost laughed. "Fix things? How do you fix years of pain?" "I don't want your apologies," I said coldly. "And I don't owe you my money, or my help. You can figure it out, just like I did. But please, I cut her off. "No, you should have thought about this before you kicked me out of your lives." I hung up. My heart was racing, but not just from anger, from satisfaction. After years of silence, of pretending I didn't exist, They needed me. I stood up, pacing the room, letting it sink in. They weren't calling because they missed me. They weren't calling because they loved me. They were calling because they needed me to fix their mess. And now that they were struggling, they finally realized what they had thrown away. But it didn't matter. They didn't deserve me anymore. I was done. But deep down, a part of me wanted to make them a little longer, make them squirm. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at the screen. Mom, again.